One of the things that always kind of amazes me is how sometimes there's a problem with the utilization of resources in our community. And what's even more, I want to say disheartening, is the fact that there are resources in our community that can help the community politically, socially, spiritually, educationally, economically, academically, and any other kind of lay that you want to think of. Part of the mission of a call to action is to kind of give all of these phenomenal resources exposure, which in turn will result in community improvement. I'm more than a little happy today to be able to bring some discussion on a phenomenal and effective resource in our community, which is the Bibb County Board of Education Welcome Center. Now, let me hasten to admit that, and I thought I was pretty much on the up and up, but until such time that I came over here on Riverside Drive and met with Ms. Kim Carter and Dr. Terrence Smith and had a casual conversation on what they are doing, their purpose, their objectives, and their activities, then I really didn't know anything. Wow. But I was so moved and so impressed and so motivated by learning all of the good things that are going on, and then I know this is a long introduction, but the last time I checked, this is my show, so I was so impressed with all of these good things that are going on at the Welcome Center. And when you put that against the backdrop of all the negativity that has surrounded our educational system, and then when you put that against the backdrop of the role that education plays and how significant education is to the advancement of our community, I said, maybe I should do a show on the Welcome Center and its activities, objectives, purposes, and what have you, under the capable and able, I know it's the same word, but this is my show, leadership of Ms. Kimberly Carter. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
And I'm your host, Alex Habersham, and as I said, we're here at the Bibb County Welcome Center, which is a phenomenal facility, but it's more than just the bricks and the mortar. What's even more important would be the kinds of things and the kinds of assistance and the kinds of programs. A lot of people don't know what's going on at the Welcome Center, so I'm so happy to be able to do this show with Mrs. Carter, who is the Director of Strategic Partnerships.
And the Welcome Center.
And she's the Director of Strategic Partnerships, and we're going to put a pin in that because I know she wants to talk about the partnership element as well as what's going on at the Welcome Center. But before we go too far, and I've known her since she was a baby, frankly, and I'm proud of her and her accomplishments and achievement, and I'm also proud of her foresight and her desire and her service, to be of service to this community, and I appreciate that, and I congratulate you on that. But tell us a little bit about this. I know you, but they don't. So talk a little bit about yourself.
Well, some of the things that I like to explain a little bit to the community, I know that the job title that I have is something that this community may not hear a lot or be very familiar with. And as the Director of Strategic Partnerships and of the Welcome Center, my role is to try, with all that I have, to build a network topology for our students that completely and totally pushes us towards our district's mission, which is each student has strength of character and is college ready. One of the things that research continues to tell us is this: the health of a community is rooted in how it educates its young people and its people, period. So we have to begin to look at education very differently from how we even looked at it when I was in school over 20 years ago. For us to even imagine that one teacher in a classroom can teach to and possibly deal with all of some of the systemic issues that our students face right now is just not the model that we know is effective. The effective model says that we have partnerships within the community and with parents that help our students. And so my job here is to not only seek out those partnerships, both internally and externally, but to strengthen them, to promote them, and to do all that is possible so that we can improve some of the systemic issues that we're seeing in our communities. This year I have probably attended a dozen funerals. When I was at Southwest High School many, many moons ago, I only remember losing three friends of mine to death. Our students are experiencing something very, very different now, where they are hearing and seeing more of their friends dying at various ages, from elementary to high school. So we have to look at what is our different model for reaching our students and improving our communities.
Now specifically, and I know you're doing quite a bit, so let's talk about programs at the Welcome Center first.
Sure.
You know, and how it ties in as a resource for the parents and the students.
Part of the, actually,
and the community.
And the community as well.
Right.
I know that there was a lot of talk about the Making Miracle, which is the strategic plan for our school system. The Welcome Center was actually built before the Miracle. And so this has always been within the plans of our previous superintendent as a way of beginning to not only reform the services, the educational services that we provide for the students in the community, but to engage our parents and community more. We had several surveys, there were community meetings, a lot of information gathering from parents and community stakeholders about the system. What would you like to see more happen? What types of questions do you have? And one of the things that we found out was, number one, our parents didn't feel like this system was very responsive to them all the time. They didn't necessarily feel like their when they went into our schools or when they tried to conduct business or navigate the system, that they always sort of knew what are the things that I need to do to make things happen for my child. So, and also if you are a multi-child family and you want to do enrollment or registration or change your address, if you had an elementary student, a middle school student, and a high school student, you need to take a guess because you're going to ride around to all the schools. And so one of the first steps to not only beginning to reform those educational services, but to being able to engage parents about the progress of their children is to centralize your enrollment and registration process. So all of our parents in this school system, if they need to do a change of address, a new enrollment, get a transcript, the driver's permit services that kids have to have now, all of that is done here.
Wow.
They can come here and do it all for all of their children.
So this is kind of like a one-stop shop.
It is a one-stop shop.
You know what, that's
this
important.
is a full-service center to parents and
it's important because the last thing we need is for a parent to be frustrated.
Absolutely.
Because we want all of them, or a community person, to be frustrated. So
Absolutely.
Anything, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but are you saying that any kind of school-related problem, issue, phenomenon, or activity, you know, if the Welcome Center doesn't sponsor it, it at least is a source of information about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
it
it.
is. It is a one-stop shop. It's a full-service center. Not only do we have our centralized enrollment and registration, we also have parent advocates on our team. So if a parent is having some problems at the school, if they are trying to figure out some resources, if it's some things they don't know about how they can help their children academically or bullying or any type of issue, we have parent advocates on the team who will work one-on-one with that parent, manage the case, take it through a complete resolution workflow with the parent, with the administrator, the teachers, social workers, and counselors, a full wraparound so that we can help that parent and their babies.
Now let me tell you, grandmamas and mamas and aunties out there, you know, I'm sure that you know children, your nieces, your nephews, and your children, you know, who we're going to talk about the ones that are doing well, too, because you got some pictures in your office I want
Absolutely.
you to talk about.
Absolutely.
But this information needs to be known because Kim and I talked the other day about it takes a village. So I want to hastily say that it's all of our responsibility, everybody's responsibility, to make sure that the educational system works. Now let me try to prove it to you, and I want you to piggyback on this. But let's talk about education as it relates to a reduction in crime, as an improvement in neighborhood, as it relates to being able to attract industry, as it relates to uplifting the spiritual community, just every discipline of which one can think. You know, education plays a role in that.
It does, absolutely. And one of the programs that we have in our schools right now at the elementary level is the teaching of Mandarin Chinese. There is a small town in Michigan right outside of Lansing that started doing the Mandarin Chinese instruction. This city had approximately about maybe 80 to 90,000 people, about the same size as Macon. And they've been doing the Mandarin Chinese instruction for about 5 years. Well, one of the things that starts happening when students are taking the Mandarin Chinese is that the brain synapses start really firing off. So students actually begin to be able to retain, engage, and critically analyze and think about more things.
I need to interrupt
So
you.
there are a lot of benefits to the Mandarin Chinese that's bigger than just it being an economic language.
But the reason I'm interrupting you because I think that you need to really, really talk about that.
Okay.
You know, because all I heard was that, you know, and I don't know, and I'm not taking any sides, but, you know, information is a powerful thing.
It is. It is.
You know, so what I want to know would be if you could take a little more time to elucidate, if you would,
about why,
on the positive effects of you see, because I hadn't heard about, you know, how it could generate, you know, and this is, and so you are an educator, and you trained in it. So, you know, if I hear, and I am too, but it was back in the dark ages, you know, so when the average person hears that Mandarin Chinese is being taught in Macon, Georgia to our kids, of course they would say, well, you know, how does that relate? Why? So would you please explain again the rationale behind the taking of Mandarin Chinese?
Sure, and from two vantage points, because understand this, a lot of my friends, family members were immediately like, why aren't we teaching Spanish? The fastest growing minority in the United States of America is Spanish, so why aren't we teaching Spanish? Well, first of all, that is not a true assumption, because not only do we have a social studies magnet school where Dr. Tanya Allen over at Hunt, at Burnell Hunt, is the principal, where they do teach Spanish and all the languages. But in every middle school and high school we have here, students can take Spanish. Okay, but Spanish right now, just like English, has been is a consumer language. We're trying to build entrepreneurs. We're trying to build young people that critically think, who can become our future business owners, who, when they look at the opportunities that are coming down the pipeline, we see this grand explosion of Chinese investment, not only just in this country, but all over the world. Most of our we are indebted to China in many different ways. Industries are going, we talk about industries that are in China and things of this nature. So it only makes sense that we begin to say to ourselves, we need to engage in the language where the economy, where we can get the biggest boom economically. About Mandarin as a way for the brain functioning to increase with young people. And people, why are we starting with the with the kindergarten, with the second graders? Why are we starting with older kids? And that is because the younger you are, the bigger the sponge that the brain is, the more they can intake. When I lived in Europe, there were 4-year-olds speaking 4 different languages.
Right.
Okay. But what Chinese does, because it is a symbol-based language rather than a Latin-based language, the brain does different things to manipulate it. Wow. We know that the brain is a muscle, so it strengthens it. So you have to work harder for the brain to work and be able to do the interpretations. So when we say those synapses are firing off in the brain, that's exactly what's happening. So you're feeling that surge and that energy for learning more, and you're able to take in more and more difficult information so that you can critically think better, so that you can infer better, which makes you what? Which makes you work harder.
Right.
You know?
Right.
We've got to debunk this theory about born smart. You know, my
About
mom,
what?
about being born smart.
Right.
Because what happens if I'm not born smart, then what am I, right? So we've got to stop talking about, oh, well, these kids are born smart and these kids are not, right? Because we're all born with this brain capacity.
Right.
And so we're infusing kids with things like Mandarin and with newer opportunities for learning. Then what we're doing is we're helping them to be able to show and produce more efficacy, which means that effective effort that helps you to achieve. You know,
Wow. Wow.
it's not about being born smart, it's about working hard.
Yeah, I know.
You know, I have people all the time saying, you're a genius. Really? No, I'm not a genius. I work hard.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yes, it is.
And for too long, you know, we've been on this whole thing about being born smart and making straight A's. Well, what happens when you just make straight A's, and you hit that wall to something that's really difficult? Well, you know what happens to our straight A students. It's, can't do it, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
But when we start talking about keeping that effort going, learning the Get Smart model, and that's one thing that I want parents to know too. I have a course going on here in Parent Academy with my parent academic instructors, and it's a course called Efficacy. And it's based on a Get Smart model, because I need parents looking at their children very differently and having that belief, like my parents had, that there was nothing I couldn't do if I put the effort to it.
So are you telling me that any parent with a child in Bibb County
Can come
can
here.
come to this Welcome Center,
Absolutely.
if, you know, with any kind of problem, that you've got the resources here to assist
Absolutely.
parents?
In our Parent Academy, we have parent academic instructors who are well-versed in the new curriculum, which is a Common Core performance standards. They are teaching parents the same things. The tagline for Parent Academy is experience what your child is learning.
Wow.
So these parents are experiencing and learning the same things and looking at the same things that their kids are doing in the classroom with these new models of pedagogy and teaching. They went on their first field trip about 2 weeks ago out at Porter Auditorium. Yes, the Parent Academy parent students. There were parents there that were just blown away because some of them had dropped out of school. Some of them were like, you know, when I was in school, we didn't go on field trips or something. So, you know, so my instructor was talking about just how some of them became very emotional to be at just a basic field trip, you know. And Firehouse Subs out on Forsyth Road, a partner, took care of their lunch for us. So, I mean, just that experience. Parents who had never been on Forsyth Road, didn't even know, where the Museum of Arts and Sciences was.
Wow.
Now, this is a place I can take my children.
Wow.
This is a place where things are going on. Here's a new eating or food experience for my child.
We don't want to spend all the time.
I know. I tell you, we're going to have to do a series.
We really should do a series. Because, I want to talk some about, we said the other day that it takes a village.
Yes.
Everybody has to be involved in the process of uplifting our community through education. So talk a little bit about your approach to partnerships. And I'm glad you mentioned Firehouse Subs, because that indicates to me that will be a partner. Just talk about other elements and entities, and organizations and institutions that can help, that can assist from a partnering perspective.
Right. One of the strategic partnerships that we are all so very proud of right now is a partnership that we have with Morehouse School of Medicine, the Satcher Health Leadership Institute, and Yale University.
Wow.
We won a grant on something called the Ruler Project, which teaches emotional literacy. And one of the things that we have heard a lot about is the discipline and some of the behavior issues that we're having in our schoolhouses. Well, we have to start looking at discipline and behavior more than just looking at what it does. We have to begin to look at what happens before the behavior happens. What does a truly well-managed classroom look like? What does a student with strength of character really, really look like? And so we know that the first teacher is the parent, is the home. So that's why we have to have these types of partnerships, not only with our parents, but with these other entities who are looking at the family in 360 degrees and not just looking at the student and saying, okay, and that's why the model has changed. It's not just a model, okay, we just take your kid into this building from 8 to 3. We don't want to see you. We don't want to see anybody else. We're going to do it all, and then we'll send them back out. That has changed completely. The village model is the model that you're hearing all over the world now about how we educate students and how we educate each other. When I was in Tokyo, you would see groups of kids in the walking school bus. They would be leaving school, going to cram school. Everybody on the street would be waving at them and happy to see them. How you doing in school? I remember when I was a little girl, when I go to Sunday school, everybody wanted to know, how you doing in school? How you doing in school? And so that's the model that we've got to go back to. That when we see our kids, it's not about pulling your pants up. It's about, what did you do in school today? How is your life doing? And I know the whole pants is a whole other show.
Yeah, I know.
But we have to talk about what's going on above the belt, what's going on above the neckline, right?
And above the chest too.
That's right. We got to be looking
above
at
the neck.
What are you thinking? What are you thinking? And so it's that community model. And and so often when we hear this village analogy, people want to put this village analogy to poverty. No, the village it really works better at the wealthy end of the socioeconomic spectrum because it's a very closed-in village, but it's still that village model where sometimes wealthy kids have this village around them,
right.
has this network topology around them. And so that's what we want to be able to do for our students and our parents and the community as well. Have the type of services wrapped around our students that keeps them safe, healthy, and productive.
Now, oftentimes there is not enough mention of success stories. Mm-hmm. So you've got 3 in your office. You got about 30 seconds each to talk about them. Because we can't just be bombarded with negative information about our school system. Absolutely. First of all, we got an obligation, because we all going to suffer either directly or indirectly if we all don't kind of chip in and try to improve it. So talk a little bit about.
We do. We have phenomenal students in our school system from North Macon to South Macon to West Macon and East Macon. We have phenomenal students here in the Bibb County school system. And so you saw my little wall of fame in there. From whenever students in the paper, on the web, or what have you, I like to take pictures of them. About a month or so ago, the Harlem Globetrotters were over at Ingram Pie Elementary School. And so this big, almost 7 feet tall man is helping this little kindergartner to do the basketball on the finger thing. And she's standing there, with her hand up and the basketball is on it. And she has so much swag, she has her hand in her pocket. And I'm like, what a beautiful visual of the village. If you help me, if you're there for me, I can do anything, okay? That's what I love about that picture. That's what that little girl was saying.
And then you had this little spelling kid who was just determined.
Janice Searcy, out at Rutland Middle School, has been participating in spelling bees for the past 3-4 years. One year he's fourth, then he's third, then he's second, and he's just determined, I'm going to be the winner of the Bibb County Spelling Bee, and he was this year. And that's what we're talking about. Students who are saying, I'm going to put the effort, I'm going to do the elbow grease to be successful, right? I'm not just going to, no one is just going to assume that I'm going to be, that I am smart. I'm going to show that I am smart. So he's really incredible.
Our time away.
Oh no!
Oh yes.
We didn't even get a chance to talk about the academy.
Yeah, we'll come back because, like you said, I'm sure there are other programs and activities that are going on, and I promise you that we'll be back. However, I want you to tell the community how to get in touch with you.
Yes, several ways. Please stop by. We're here at 2003 Riverside Drive. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 on Mondays and Wednesdays, 8 to 6 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and 8 to 2 on Fridays. Our phone number is 478-779-3000. That's 478-779-3000. You can also find us on the Bibb County website. That's www.bib.k12.ga.us. Just go and click on other services to the Welcome Center. Or you can email us at welcomecenter@bib.k12.ga.us.
Wow. But then, and that means that anybody can come. I mean, it doesn't have to be a parent. It could be a businessman who wants to help or what have you.
Absolutely. And especially in our community academy,
right.
I think you have the flyer there. We have Mercer University Public Health as a partner. We have HSBC Bank, right. The UGA Co-op extension. Wow. We were going to do a course on the history of hip-hop with Bad Boy Entertainment, right. And so they were telling us they'll catch us in the fall, and just all kinds of just amazing right. things
we got,
to engage
my producer
our
telling me
community.
We got to wrap it up here. We're having so much fun.
And
there's so much vital information. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
And I'm your host, Alex Habersham. Having interviewed Ms. Kim Carter, Director of Strategic Partnerships and the Welcome Center for our school system, Bibb County Board of Education. I want to thank you, and I want to encourage everybody. You can feel the enthusiasm in her voice, and I hope you can feel the need to be motivated by what's going on in the Bibb County educational system and how you can help. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham. Have a great day.